بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. صدق الله العلي العظيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بسيدنا ومولانا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب عليه السلام، وجعلنا الله وإياكم من الطالبين بثأره بين يدي الإمام المنصور المؤيد المهدي من آل محمد. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك وعلى روحك وبدنك الطاهرة، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين. ما خاب من تمسك بكم سادتي، وأمن من لجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أولم ير الذين كفروا أن السماوات والأرض كانتا رتقا ففتقناهما وجعلنا من الماء كل شيء حي أفلا يؤمنون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Second salawat in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. A third in honor of the Imam of our time with your loudest voices, Imam Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman. My respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A major motif and theme within Islamic eschatology and Islamic thought and Islamic theology is one that has far been understudied and overlooked for a long time, and that is the subject and theme pattern of cosmology, of astronomy, of astrophysics, of everything to do with space, stars, the planets, the universe, and everything in between in this endless existence that we call ad-dunya ad-daniyya. When we look into, just randomly open the Quran, random, you'll find ayat that talk about Allah vowing on behalf of the stars. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ. Buruj here is in reference to constellations. And by the skies that have constellations, you look up to the sky and you see these stars arranged in a beautiful manner. These are constellations. Later on, nations and tribes came and decided to ascribe meaning to these constellations. The first was the Babylonian calendar. They gave the famous zodiac signs that you all know today, hopefully not love and obsessed with. The Cancer, the Virgo, the Leo, all of these, Pisces. I hear that Pisces is the best one, I don't know. But in any case, meaning was placed on these. The Chinese calendar as well, the Indian, they all looked up to the skies and they found meaning and purpose. Allah even swears by a star and He uses it and reminds us that I am the God of that star. In the 7th century Arabian Peninsula, there was a star called Sirius. You guys know Sirius, the star. It's a famous bright star in the sky. You can actually see it. But it was worshipped as a deity. It was seen and viewed as like a god. So Allah in the Holy Quran, what did He say? وَإِنَّهُ هُوَ رَبُّ الشِّعْرَى. And He is the Lord of Cyrus, in Arabic is a shi'ra. He is the Lord of that star that you worship. Don't worship it, worship the creator of shi'ra. It's a very beautiful moment here. In addition, you can see ayat that speak about وَالشَّمْسِ وَالْقَمَرِ, or الشَّمْسِ إِذَا وَالشَّمْسِ إِذَا وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا وَالنَّهَارِ. And you find these ayat come back and forth. And you find one of the most profound ayat that talk about the most amazing, whether you look at Surah Al-Najm and the chapter named after stars. But this ayah in Surah Al-Anbiya discusses the existence of the universe, and it begins to talk about all of these, from the stars to the sun to even the orbiting of this creation that we know as Al-Fada, the space. Why is this such a major theme? We will find and observe in the following ayah. And which Imam of Ahlul-bayt opened up the pages of the universe, used the universe as an example to remind you and I not to feel small in life, because you are not only in the endlessness of this universe, the endlessness of the universe is within you. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen explored for us, and we will find the ayat that even possibly reference the massive bodies of space that even could infer to the discoveries that we found later on in 1931 with the discovery of the Hubble Space Telescope, up until today, the new beautiful observations of the James Webb Telescope, where if you just get your thumb like this and you aim it hand distance, that surface area of your thumb, that area within the space that you're looking at, that area occupies, just from that viewpoint, over 300 billion galaxies. If you were just to take this all in sight, and the size of your thumb, extend it as such, within that space from your eye, 300,000 galaxies. Each galaxy has over 500 billion stars. Each star has over, at the bare bone minimum, 100 planets. And this is just in that space with your thumb. What about the scopeness and endlessness and the ever-expanding nature of this? God reminded you, وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. And he goes on and on. But this ayah in Surah Al-Anbiya, ayah number 30, brings it all together. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Oftentimes the Messenger of God was faced with Muslims that were defiant. Oftentimes he was faced with polytheists that were defiant. But then there was a member of the society who was an atheist. And he says, I need a sign. I don't want to look at the Torah, nor am I interested in the Quran. The following I encourage and I implore, and in fact, because it's in the Quran, I'm going to say I find it as an obligation to spread and share to the non-Muslim around you. Because this is what Allah has said. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أَوَلَمْ يَرَى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. Have those who disbelieved. You're not going to take theology as proof. You're not going to take history as proof. No worries. Have those who disbelieved, i.e. atheists, agnostics, and even us at the end of the day, we need this reminder, not considered that the samawat, multiple levels of heavens and skies above us, and the ard, this dunya, this earth, this planet that we're on, both of them, كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا, were one joined entity. And then we created fataq. We have then separated them. A joined entity between this earth and the levels of heavens above us. This was revealed, I want to remind you, and you know this, but it's helpful, in the 7th century Arabian Peninsula to an unlettered community. Randomly descending from that mountain, Rasulullah is showing you what many might call today the singularity event. That the earth and the planetary bodies and everything in between was all one conjoined entity. رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. And then we have separated them. Then God begins to expand. that we have created وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ from water all living life. كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. This is truth. This is haqq, by the way, because you cannot have life without having water. Anywhere where you want to see life and existence, there has to be water near it, even from the microorganisms. This is another proof. How would you know this if you live in the desert? Just remind yourself, this is in the barren desert, the 7th century, most backward society that has ever existed, most racist, misogynistic, think of every ist in a negative manner, society. That was the 7th century Arabian society. Somehow Allah خرج الطيب من الخبيث from this, in the form of Mohammed ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How does the ayah end? أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Will they still not believe? I gave you proofs in the skies. You'll find the ayat of Allah in the seas and the sky. After this, do you still not believe? We're not done yet. And then He created فِي الْأَرْضِ رَوَاسِيَ. The next ayah. أَن تَمِيدَ بِهِمْ وَجَعَلْنَا فِيهَا فِجَاجًا سُبُلًا لَعَلَّهُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. And we have created within this earth mountain passes and valleys on this earth that serve as firm pegs. These keep the earth in structure, in line, and we have made therein pathways so that you can find guidance through them. That was the basic mode of transportation, and it still is today. People use and utilize the topology of the earth, from those who are in the skies to those that are working in down the earth. We use this as a form of guidance. Allah took you to space, and now Allah is bringing you back down to earth. That this is the form of guidance. The next ayah, وَجَعَلْنَا السَّمَاءَ سَقْفًا مَحْفُوظًا. And we have created the what? The skies. Now this is a bizarre ayah because it shouldn't exist. This ayah of the Quran should not exist given the technological discoveries at that time period. They did not have any understanding that the sky was a protecting ceiling. What does that mean? How is a sky a ceiling? A sky cannot be a ceiling, I'll admit to you, because the sky is the opposite to a ceiling. A ceiling is what separates you and the sky. So how here can the sky be a ceiling? This, jot it down and send it to your non-Muslim friend. The Quran guides, and it will guide people with an open heart. Because if the sky can protect you from something, it is sheltering and sealing you away from something violent. You have a ceiling to protect you from the elements of the sky. The rain, the hail, the cold, everything in between, the snow. You don't get any of that here, by the way, but you get rain, of course. And in this case, Allah says the sky serves as a ceiling. What is it sealing me from? There has to be something it's preventing from entering and hurting me. Harmful, potential, UV, rays, whatever it may be that comes, the sky is now acting as a ceiling, the ozone layer. The sama is a saqaf. It's just not just the sky. What is it doing? Mahfudha. It's protecting. A saqaf, a roof, is irrelevant if it's not doing its job protecting you. It's not just the sky, that's a ceiling, it's also protecting. So if the ozone layer is gone, how long do you think the human race will last? Very minimally. These harmful UV rays will cook us around and alive, we will perish. That, and not considering space dust and rocks and things of that nature, comets and meteors, ozone layer captures everything. If the earth didn't have as many levels of ozone layers, our earth would look like the moon with how many craters it has. But it doesn't. Why? Because the earth is in a system whereby we have an ozone layer, whereby in the 7th century Arabian Peninsula, the Quran that was revealed in the most pristine language said, وَجَعَلْنَا السَّمَاءَ سَقْفًا مَحْفُوظًا. And people were reading this at the time thinking, very nice. I don't understand. Some tafsir might indicate these are the clouds, because you can't go beyond that. How do you know? There is no mountain tall enough so that you can go up and start feeling the pressures of ozone and not ozone. Nothing like that existed. Not in the 7th century Arabian Peninsula. They didn't have airplanes. They had nothing. Their limitations were sticks and stones and arrows and spears. And that was it. But they had the intelligence of a God-blessed man and his family through his book and through his Ahlul-bayt. Then the ayah continued and then began to speak about the most profound, beautiful creations that Allah created. He is the one who created al-layla wal-nahara wal-shamsa wal-qamara kullun fi falakin yasbahun. He is the one who created al-layl, night, wal-nahar, and the sun and the moon. So planetary bodies and moments of time. Night, day. The sun, the moon. What are they doing in one motion? Kullun, they are all in an orbit. A falak or a filka in the Arabic is called a roundabout. When you go and start driving in the Middle East, please don't do it, because if you can drive there, you can drive anywhere. But if you go and drive in Iraq, you will see that there's a checkpoint that has a filka. A filka is literally just a roundabout. They call it filka because you go around it. The Quran used this as a pronoun. Kullun fi falakin, they are in this following state. They are orbiting yasbahun. This ayah ends with an interesting word. They are in an orbit swimming. Now here I read an Orientalist by the name of Dwight Donaldson. An Orientalist who thinks he knows better than the Muslims themselves. And he says, yeah, this is where Mohammed and the Muslims got it wrong. They assume that because it rains, that there's water up there always, and that the moon and the sun sit on this stuff, right? So they made a lot of coincidental, correct predictions that they are in an orbit, these are separate entities and planetary bodies. But the thing is, how are they swimming? كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ سِبَاحَةً يَسْبَحُونَ. So it's like, this is where they made the mistake. Allah used the best word to describe what they are doing. Why? Because this motion of sibaha yasbahun doesn't discuss what they are in. It discusses what they are doing. Because in the field of space, time, and this is where I need your concentration, you have what has been produced from the contributions of the great thinkers such as Newton and Einstein. But Einstein particularly gave the human race, and genuinely this is a good contribution, the general theory of relativity. He gave the following presumption. By the way, later on, one of our ulama by the name of Ayatollah al-Uzma al-Sayyid Hussein al-Barajurdi, one of the grand maraji' before Ayatollah Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim and before Ayatollah al-Sayyid al-Khoi. Al-Sayyid al-Barajurdi, the student of al-Akhund al-Khurasani, he met with a student of Einstein in Boston College, an Iraqi professor, when he came and visited Qum. And so Sayyid Hussein Barajurdi said to the professor, he says, your teacher, I heard that he has this idea. This story you can find by Sayyid Ayatollah Mohammed Jawad al-Alawi al-Barajurdi. His grandson, who is alive today, he's one of the Maraji' in Qum today. He says it in an interview. You can actually watch it in the Farsi. It's actually even been translated into English. He says, the professor from Boston, who was the student of Einstein's, visited Qum to my grandfather, and my grandfather has said to him, what's this concept, general theory of relativity? Look how our Maraji' are invested. Maraji' are not people that just focus and close their eyes on everything else in the world. You'll be surprised how well aware they are of what's happening. So he asks, he says, basically, it's like this, that space-time and bodies in the space affect one another because they are relative from their distance. And that's how mass works and gravity works. So he, the marja', said this is not something far-fetched. It makes a lot of sense. And the conversation went further. You can look at that later. It's a very beautiful dialogue. What happened was, we're looking at the term yasbahun here, how that fits into the world of reality today. Because the Quran is reality. This world is deception. If ever you see the Holy Quran and you feel maybe this ayah didn't make sense, don't say the Quran didn't make sense. Maybe my understanding of how the world is not making sense. Because it's always the Quran. If I find something that's not consistent with science, and if we say science is empirical evidence, that means there's a flaw in the evidence, not the Holy Quran al-Kareem, brothers and sisters. The Quran tells you that you have to go back and reread your information and check it at the end of the day. Don't let anyone say there's a flaw in the human body. I know many people say, well, as a doctor, the appendix is not necessary, so just get rid of it. Everything in you is necessary. At least think of it as a biological, evolutionary thing. Why would evolution bring inside you dreams? Dreams are counterintuitive to your existence. Why? Because if you have a bad dream and a nightmare, evolution designed and engineered in you. By the way, dreams are very ambiguous. No one really can give you why we have dreams. That if you have a bad dream, heart rate increases, right? It's a bad dream. Have you ever woken up like this? Breathing, barely catching your breath, burning calories? If it's just fight and flight and freeze and survival of the fittest, why would evolution engineer in you? Think about this. A dream and the capability to have nightmares whereby you're burning calories. You're supposed to be energizing when you're asleep. You're burning calories. That's counterintuitive. You need calories to survive in the jungle when you're escaping from a leopard or a zebra or whatever it is. This happens naturally. There is something going on that we have yet to discover. And don't think we found every fact there is to find. And there's a lot of truth. And this is the only world religion, and I'll say this confidently, and I'll say this, we are the only worldview that encourages the study of both science and faith. Everything else says you either must sacrifice religion or science to have one or the other be accepted inside you. Because if you look at the evangelical, Christian, biblical scope of thinking that former Vice President Mike Pence was, you find that the earth is 9,000 years old. That either dinosaurs didn't exist and it's a conspiracy, or that dinosaurs walked with Jesus. Why? Because the Bible said that the earth is about 6,000 or so years old. That's not consistent with the scientific record. I'm going to have to either sacrifice my religion or science. That's not the case. In this religion, we are encouraged. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen himself says very clearly, Salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, Al-ilmu ilman, that knowledge is two. Ilmu al-adyan wa ilmu al-abdan. Knowledge is either the study of religion and theology, or the study of the biology, of anatomy and chemistry, and everything in between. We are encouraged to study science. You become a stronger Muslim the more you become a scientist. The more you study and become a scientist, inshallah, biologist, the stronger of a Muslim you're going to become. Because you can see the signs of Allah. One of my mentors in the speaking world, Dr. Sheikh Osama Al-Attar, many know him here, wonderful brother, older brother figure to most of us here. He has his PhD in chemistry. I said to him one day, Shaykhana, chemistry, PhD, is it far away from anything to do with religion? Do you see anything in this? Has it brought you closer to Allah? He says, the moment I began studying and looking at the elements and breaking down those atoms and studying the properties, I could only see the qudra of Allah in this. That this can never have been an accident. The atomic buildup of the elements of sodium, of gold, of silver, of carbon, and that we are mostly carbon. This is precisely precision and direct engineering by an intelligent engineer. And that is none other than Tabarakallah Ahsan al-Khaliqeen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, but I wouldn't have had this view unless I studied and got my PhD in chemistry. The more we are encouraged to study and learn, the more we become stronger Muslims. Einstein comes forth and says what? He says that in space-time, you have a piece of mass, however heavy it is, it will impact the other piece of mass near it in space-time. So you have the sun. It's very massive. And the planets around it are lighter in mass than the sun. Relative to it, generally, general theory of relativity, it will drag it near it. But that causes the orbit, and if you can imagine like a fabric, and throw a bowling ball in the middle, and throw marbles on the side, and watch the marbles do what? Orbit as such. They will then eventually collapse, but there's an orbit point in space because there's no collapse and there's no medium, it's just space, it continues to orbit as such, unless it becomes too close to it. That's why it's called the fabric of space-time. He says one affects the other relative to where it is. You can feel the tug and the pull. What happens when you throw what? A rock in a body of water that has, say, a floating ball in it, like a small beach ball. Throw a rock right next to it. What will happen to that ball? It'll just stay still. It will move. Why? But you didn't hit the ball with the rock. You hit the water next to it. You hit at the end of the body of water, but that ball still moved. Why? It's floating. You didn't hit the ball because there's a ripple effect coming around and it's going to reach it. relative to where it is. That's why Allah in the Holy Quran, Wallahu A'lam, says that the sun, the moon, the night, the day, all the planetary celestial bodies, they are in an orbit swimming. كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. Hence it's called gravitational waves. This ayah came forth and has led many to come to the following conclusion. Either this wasn't revealed by one man unlettered in the Arabian Peninsula, the most backward-minded people you will ever see, or it has to have had some divine intervention, or must have been the mother of all coincidences. You got everything right back and everything right afterwards. There's another ayah in Surah Al-Dhariyat. Notice the motif of the space and celestial bodies. Islam is almost encouraging you, get out of this earth. Leave and find a different place. Don't just stay here. Go and learn and search. Go see, go far and wide. وَالسَّمَاء بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ in Surah Al-Dhariyat. وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ. And the skies we've built with strength. بِأَيْدٍ, like with your own hands, is an idiom of strength. It's built with precision and quwwah. وَإِنَّا, and we, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَمُوسِعُونَ. We are its expanders. وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Expanded. What is space doing? It's constantly expanding at an accelerating rate. This is what is called dark energy. How is it expanding so quick after the initial Big Bang, of which in Surah Al-Anbiya, that أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا, from the Big Bang of that singularity, فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا, and then we've expanded it. Surah Al-Dhariyat comes and tells me very clearly that the skies, I built it with quwwah. It has to be built with strength. How the heck do you have this entire existence with weakness? But I am causing it to be expanded because it should slow down by now. But it's getting faster. Something that experiences combustion like this slows down. Why is this getting faster? We have to call it dark energy. We don't know, it's dark. I don't know. Nothing's fueling it. It's just dark energy. Allah says, I am the one expanding it. وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ. I will take you to another ayah of the Holy Quran. This ayah, if you were impressed with Anbiya, if you were impressed with singularity, if you were impressed with gravitational waves and the ripple effect, that the more we learn, by the way, throughout space-time, throughout existence, the more we look back and retrospect on the Quran and we're like, that makes sense now. The Quran is an intellectual miracle. It was meant to be read by intellectuals. Some people say, how is it the miracle of the Prophet? And, how come most people are not still Muslims yet? If it's a miracle, then open up your intellect and read. Because this religion was built on Iqra, Bismi Rabbika alladhi khalaq. And we turn into an ummah la naqra. Read. If you expect others to be Muslim, first into you read. Then you find these discoveries. That's why it's important. Go and learn. طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيضَةٌ عَلَىٰ كُلِّ مُؤْمِنٍ وَمُؤْمِنَةٍ. It's an obligation upon every mu'min and mu'minah to pursue knowledge. Rasulullah said, الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين. Okay, good. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. For the Messenger of God to insist that even if it takes you years of travel, it's worth it to get knowledge. Go and leave. I know some people are hesitant when they get a university offer and that they're given an option to go at the end of the country. Of course, you have a list of priorities. Number one is your faith. By traveling, will that impact your faith in any negative manner? If so, it would be haram to go. It would be called ta'arrub ba'd al-hijrah. You are doing something that is haram as a result of hijrah. Don't do so. Never take yourself or your family somewhere that'll make your daughters take off their hijab, or your son let go of salah, and your family become a generation that doesn't worship Allah. How sad would it be that it's at your generation now, and this lineage of followers of Ahlul-bayt. And I have utmost love and reverence to my brothers and sisters from the Khoja community, from the pioneering efforts of Dawji Jamal, Mullah Qadir Hussein, from Gujarat, who came and saw a new life, from the Aga Khan at the time who was persecuting them, just because they wanted to say La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, Aliyyun Waliullah, such that it ends with me today, with my generation afterwards, no longer saying that. That would be a shame if I did such a hijrah as such. Continue and make your generation stronger. But if by traveling you improve your lineage, it would be wajib to go. Hence Rasulullah left Mecca, went and did hijrah to Medina. Hence many of us, when we saw Saddam, it would be haram for us to stay. Either we need to support that horrible regime, or we need to leave. And we said, let's leave. Even though our family's here, forget that, even though Ahlul-bayt, we have 6 of them in Iraq, we had to leave. Why? Because the Ahlul-bayt would want us to preserve the sanctity and the future of our children. And where did we go of all places? And where did you go of all places? And where did most of us go? Western world, America. Why? Because wherever my sajjada is allowed to be opened, that's my country. If I am allowed to practice my religion, wear my hijab, fulfill my duties, I am going to pray here and do this. I am going to fulfill that. Rasulullah says, even if you have to go as far as China, go. It's okay, it's worth it. If you guaranteed everything else, you can make the trip. We can take us to one last ayah. This ayah, we want to combine it with a hadith by Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is chapter 81 of the Holy Quran, Surah At-Takwir. I would like for you to bear with me, however. In Surah At-Takwir, it's a very deep surah in the sense that it talks about the young infant girls that were slaughtered, buried alive. These girls, they had no choice and they had no future in the sense that they were just born and that was their crime. And so Allah says, وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنبٍ قُتِلَتْ. Allah, before He gets to this line, He begins to swear by multiple of His creations. One of the things He swears on is, and when the sea turns on itself, when the animals begin to marry with one another, when the universe begins to crumble and collapse, Allah swearing on massive things. Until Rabbul Alameen gets to ayat 15 and 16. These 2 ayat are interesting. فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالْخُنَّسِ الْجَوَارِ الْكُنَّسِ. And I swear by the thing that is called al-khunnas, which is jawar and its kunnas. The second ayah describes the first one, al-jawar al-kunnas. These are pronouns. If you open the tafasir of the likes such as Fakhruddin al-Razi's Mafatih al-Ghayb or Tafsir ibn Kathir, non-Shia tafasir, you'll find one opinion given by Sa'id ibn Jubair that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by a cow. The cow, the term khunnas, comes from the term that which was formerly visible and is no longer visible. Khanasa khanasa, meaning something that you were able to see, now it's gone. So he says, the cow was something you could see. When you confronted it, it got startled and ran away and hid in the shrubbery. It ran fast because the second ayat begin to talk about its motion. Al-jawar meaning quick. Al-kunnas meaning sweep away. That doesn't make too much sense in the theme of what Allah was swearing behind the ayat before this one. In the same tafasir, they give multiple opinions. One of them is by Sa'id ibn Jubair, who was not a companion. He never met Rasulullah, but he has this opinion. The other, and even Ibn Kathir mentions this, and I mentioned why Ibn Kathir, because Ibn Kathir is the student of Ibn Taymiyyah.
So he would not be someone to be privy to mention the following hadith. He says, and this is found in Tafsir al-Mizan, and it's found in Al-Amthal, and it's found in Majma' al-Bayan, and it's found in Tibyan fi Tafsir al-Quran, and it's found in Tafsir al-Qummi, and it's found in Tafsir Shubbar, it's found in all of our tafsir, Tafsir Naymunah, it's found in every single tafsir, the following opinion. كان علي عليه السلام خاطبا في مسجد الكوفة. One day Imam Ali was preaching in the masjid of Kufa, and he was doing tafsir of the Holy Quran, Ali ibn Abi Talib. One day he got to this ayah. Imam Ali, you know when he would do tafsir of the Quran, you know how it was like? It's not like here, ayah number 1 says this, ayah number 2 says that. One day Imam Ali began with just the basmala, the Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. He started on harf ba, the first letter B, ba. He began with harf ba in Fajr. He ended Maghrib, he was still on ba. He talks about why Allah uses a tough letter ba, because it's a heavy letter in the Arabic language. In Arabic you have heavy letters and light letters. Lam is light, kha is heavy, ba is seen as moderate. What is the nuqta underneath that dot? What does that represent? Why Allah introduces with the second letter of the Arabic alphabet, He spends a whole day on the letter ba. Imagine the colossal amount of gems that the Quran has for us, if that's just the one letter, and that's what you get. Imam got to these two ayat. فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالْخُنَّسِ الْجَوَارِ الْكُنَّسِ. One man raised his hands in Masjid al-Kufa. He says, Ya Ali, وَمَا الْخُنَّسِ. And what is al-khunnas? What is that thing that vanishes and goes away? What is that? Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen said, and I don't need to list the amount of tafsir that mentioned it again. It's going to be too long. But every tafsir has this. هِيَ النُّجُومِ الَّتِي لَا تُرَى. They are the stars that are no longer visible. Plug that hadith into the eye of the Holy Quran, because we are followers of Quran and Ahlul-bayt. The ayah says, and I swear by the, plug the hadith, stars that are no longer visible. I swear by the stars that are no longer visible. Can a star be no longer visible? A star is only visible. It's a star. A star that is no longer visible. The next ayah, al-jawar al-kunnas. Jawar comes from the word jariyah. Jariyah, and you've all read it in the Quran, when talking about heavens and the rivers beneath which flow quickly. Jannatin tajri min tahtiha al-anhar. Tajri, fast, rapid. Al-jawar, so these are the stars, can continue. These are the stars that are no longer visible, according to Ali ibn Abi Talib, that are fast in their movements. What do they do? I'm going to ask my brother Majid over there. Habibi. Al-jawar al-kunnas. Kunnas. How do you say vacuum in Arabic? Say it in Arabic. Huh? Maknasa, muknasa. So muknasa, maknasa means a vacuum, something that sucks things away, right? And sweeps things away. Yes, that's right. I swear by the stars that are no longer visible, that are fast in their movement, and they sweep things away. What is Allah swearing by? I don't know, I didn't say it. I don't know. You know when we first discovered a black hole? When we first discovered it? 1971. Do you know when we first saw a black hole? 2019. Yesterday. We first saw a black hole. It's this image that was radio projected. It's very orange. You probably have seen it. It's an image of the very first black hole humanity saw. Do you know when it was first introduced to humanity? In the 7th century Arabian Peninsula, in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Takwir. And you know when it was first expressed to society? In the 38th year after Hijrah, in Masjid al-Kufa, by the Natiq Quran Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salam. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam takes you to space if you just hold on to him. Imam Abul Hassan salamullahi alayhi was the one who said, دواؤك فيك وما تبصر وداؤك منك وما تشعر أتحسب نفسك جرم صغير وفيك انطوى العالم الأكبر. Your illness is in you but you don't see. Your solution is from you, but you just can't tell. You perceive yourself a small entity while enfolded in you is the entire universe. Don't think you're small. In you is the entire universe. This is astronomically correct. How? If you look at how they say the universe was made, space particles and gases from the Big Bang, slowly it turned into immense elements that were the formulating moments of existence of life. From the elements of iron and such, the planets began to form. From that one planet had life. We are part of space dust, space whatever stars, and they are part of us. Don't think you're small. You are not only in the universe, Habibi, the universe is inside you. Amir al-Mu'mineen reminded us of this. Then every time, any time in life, you feel like it's not worth it, your problem is inside you, by the way. The solution, you can figure it out, but you just don't see it. And your solution is within you, but you just don't sense it. Don't go and get over-the-counter stuff anymore. That's just hiding the problem temporarily, brushing the dirt under the carpet. It's still there. Fix the problem from within. Whatever you're dealing with mentally, socially, anxiety, and by the way, we will have a lecture about drugs. That is coming. This is a problem that has plagued many Muslims from Orlando to Dearborn, Michigan, the Holy Land. It's plagued all of us here. Okay, sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The quick solution is the solution is inside you. Stop relying on over the stuff just to solve remedies that inside you you think can only be solved by taking a regimen every single day. It's inside you, you can fix it. And don't think you're small, you're worthless. Wallah, you're filled with everything life has made. Because you are made with everything in life. But forget the universe. Allah made you with honor. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. And we have honored the children of Adam. For that reason, you're worth it. And I'll tell you one last thing. You're worth it. Do you know why? Because you're a follower of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And hani and congratulations to all the followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen on the 20th of Shahr Ramadhan. Tomorrow, I insist all of you come and attend. It might be a work day. You might have commitments later on. It's fine. You might not have commitments, but you have other commitments not related to work. It's fine. Try your effort to come. Allah will bless you. For the day tomorrow will be the Shahada of Ali ibn Abi Talib. On that day, we will commemorate. But for now, you are a follower of his today. Back then, you would have been just like Al-Asbagh ibn Nubata. Al-Asbagh ibn Nubata was a follower of Imam Ali in Kufa. Al-Asbagh, I think of him like one of our youth, subhanAllah. He clinged on to Imam Ali like this. Wherever Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen would walk, he would follow him. He would just follow him. He loved Imam Ali. One day they say Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen was walking in a very muddy area, sort of, whereby when he would walk, he would leave an imprint on the ground. He turned around and he looked and he saw only one pair of feet walking, even though Al-Asbagh was with him. He's like, Al-Asbagh, what's going on? He's like, I only want to step where you stepped, Ya Abul Hassan. Such that he sees only one pair of feet walking around. He said, that's how much I love you, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Anything you need, I'm here for you. And it's on a night like tonight, Al-Asbagh ibn Nubata, he approaches Imam Ali as he is tending to his wounds. Now imagine, you in your whole duration in Kufa, you spent your life with Mawla alayhi salam. Everywhere he went, in Sufin you were with him, in Jamal you were with him. But now the man you laid your life out is now leaving his life. How would that make you feel? Imagine you can't even walk unless you step on his same spots. Al-Asbagh ibn Nubata is with Kumayl ibn Ziyad al-Nakha'i, Dua Kumayl, and he is with Hijr ibn Adi al-Kindi. And they surround the house of Imam Ali and they're crying outside together. These are soldiers of the highest caliber. They've seen Jamal, Nahrawan, and Sufin. And then all they hear outside is mourning. The house of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, Hassan, Hussein, and Zainab are all gathered next to their father, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and they just hear mourning outside, such that the ones outside are crying more than the ones inside. And so what goes on is Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen tells Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, his successor and the next Imam of the Muslimin, Ya bunay, go and bring them inside the home. They just want to be with their Imam before he leaves and departs them. For their whole entire life, they've spent it with me. So give them that time. They would typically not allow anyone to enter the house. It would cause great burden on Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's unwell, and he's tending to that wound on his head, which is drenched with poison. And so they wouldn't allow anyone in. But these three were different. And so they bring them inside. As soon as they walk into the room, they see their master laying down, unable to stand. And they see him on his back with a headband over his blessed head. Each and every minute, they're replacing the band because it becomes too bloody. It's on a night like tonight that these three are gathering and they begin to mourn Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen as he is experiencing his final breaths. Until Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, begins to say to his companions, My beloved companions, I beseech and ask you, do not mourn too much over me, for it is only a few moments I will reunite with the Almighty and greatest companion. And then they began to console one another, the ashab of Ali ibn Abi Talib, until the Imam then said, You have tired yourself extensively, return back to your homes. They said, Mawla, if there's anything you need, please send for us, we are at your service. And indeed they were, for how they laid their lives for Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. As all of them left the home, Imams Hassan and Hussein, As-Sayyida Zainab and the rest continued to hear one man crying at the door. Imam Hassan then said, I have sent them on their way. Who still remains by the door? He goes and opens the door, and he sees Al-Asbagh ibn Nubata standing by the door alone, without anyone near him. He says, Ya Asbagh, is there anything else you need? He says, I need Ali. I can't leave his home, and I cannot separate from him, knowing that my master is in immense pain. Bring me back inside. Imam al-Hassan then asked Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, Oh father, Al-Asbagh refuses to leave. This reminds me of all of you lovers of Amir al-Mu'mineen. How when you make ziyarah, you hate to leave and bid farewell to the haram of Mawlana Abul Hassan. Al-Asbagh says, how can I leave? Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, bring him inside. His heart is broken and I am the only one who can mend to it. Al-Asbagh comes inside. Imam Ali alayhi salam begins to give him comforting words as they are changing the strap on his blessed head from the blood. The doctor is there and he is insisting that he needs rest and time alone. Al-Asbagh begins to cry over Imam Ali alayhi salam and he says, Mawla, I fear for you. Imam says, don't fear for me. Imam Ali says, why do you cry, Ya Asbagh? Ma hiya illa al-Jannah. Why do you cry? It's only Jannah I'm going to. Do you know what he says? This line is truly heavy. He says, Mawla, I don't cry for you. I cry for us. What will be of us after you? Ya Ali, I'm not asking and crying about what will happen to you. I know you're going to Jannah. Rather, it's what will be of us when we lose you, Ya Ali. Ya Ali, on a day like today, the orphans lose a father and we all became orphans at your day and on this day, until they get news that at the door there are now children standing outside. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam goes to that door again, and then he sees a row of children, each one holding a pail of milk. He says, what's happening here? The young children, do you know what they say? They say that we heard that our dad has been wounded and that milk heals him a bit and makes him relax from those wounds. And so we are here, we want to take care of our parents, for it is the right of the child on the parent to tend to them. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, all of Kufa began to mourn him, from the young children to the members of that land. Even the captive that they have gotten, Abd al-Shaytan ibn Muljim, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen said that if I die, then you are to go deal with him the same way he dealt with me, with that fatal blow. But if I survive, then just let him be. Let it be that case. Look at the rahmah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Tomorrow we will discuss the will of the Imam, but before he begins his will, he calls for his children to come together, and he also calls for Lady Zainab to come near to him. He begins to grab the hand of Zainab alayhi salam, and he then asks, where is Abbas? They said he is crying by the room. Go and bring him. He brings the hand of Abul Fadl. He brings their hands together, and he begins to say, you will watch after the other. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. فرج عنا يا الله. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم. يا الله 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 يا الله. اللهم بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها شاف مرضانا اقضي حوائجنا فرج عنا. اللهم بحق الحسين الشهيد ارزقنا زيارة الأمير والحسين في الدنيا وشفاعتهما في الآخرة. اللهم عجل ثم عجل لوليك الفرج. And for all the marhumin and those who have requested, and from the shuhada to the ulama, rahimallah, من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. But before it, the loudest of yours, salawat.